Friends, let's continue from where we had stopped yesterday. In fact, this is the class for first year, human physiology. Yesterday, in the previous class, we have discussed about the digestive system. There we have completed buccal cavity. Buccal cavity, there we have completed buccal cavity, we have completed tongue, teeth, salivary glands, we have completed. Next, buccal cavity leads to the next organ of alimentary canal, that is nothing but esophagus. It leads to esophagus. Now what is esophagus? That leads to pharynx first. First pharynx, then esophagus. Clear? Okay. So buccal cavity leads to a common organ known as pharynx. Common organ. What do you mean by common organ here? This pharynx is a common organ for both the digestive system and as well as for the respiratory system. We have different types of oropharynx we have that leads to esophagus, continues into the stomach, constitute the digestive system, whereas the nasopharynx continues into larynx, fine, and thereby that larynx leads to lungs and that constitute respiratory system. That's why we call pharynx as a common organ for both the digestive system and as well as for the respiratory system. So such a common organ is what is known as pharynx. Clear? So pharynx is a common passage for both the digestive system and respiratory system. In pharynx, the different parts are there, as I told you now. Oropharynx leads to digestive system, clear? Whereas nasopharynx leads to naso. Fine. Nasopharynx leads to fine larynx and respiratory system. So pharynx, after pharynx, what we have the organ is a very important organ, esophagus. Esophagus, tubular organ. What organ? Esophagus is commonly known as food pipe. Commonly known as food pipe. Fine. It's a tubular organ. Tubular, fine. Clear? Muscular and tubular organ. Fine. Having epithelial tissue. Fine. Inside also, externally also. Fine. Where the after mastication, what is mastication? The mechanical digestion, where the food taken into mouth, cut, chewed, fine, cut, teared, chewed and grinded by different types of teeth that mixes with the saliva, fine, the digestive juice is from the salivary glands, that whatever the form it attains in the mouth, that is known as bolus. What is known as bolus? This bolus, find how it is formed by chewing, mechanical digestion, cutting and all those things. That's why it is known as a mechanical digestion. The digestion that takes place with the help of teeth is known as mechanical digestion. The digestion that takes place with the help of enzymes is known as chemical digestion. So what is digestion basically? Fine. The process wherein larger food molecules are broken down to smaller food molecules with the help of enzymes. Fine. Because most of the digestion takes place enzymatically. So that's why it is known as biochemical digestion or chemical digestion. In the mouth, what digestion takes place? Mechanical digestion takes place. That leads to the formation of soft formed food, what is known as bolus. That bolus enters into the pharynx. From pharynx, when we swallow, it enters into esophagus. This esophagus, esophagus has a cartilaginous cap, what we call as epiglottis. Epi upper glottis, the structure where the esophagus starts, the food pipe starts. That region is covered by a flap-like organ. If this is the esophagus, here there will be a flap-like structure. This is the esophagus. This flap-like structure closes when we respire, because actually respiratory organs are of course nose and nostrils, but air also enters through mouth, fine. So from there it leads to nasopharynx and then it enters. In order to avoid the entry of air, fine, into the esophagus, though it enters, fine, and the entry of food particles into larynx, fine, because they will be adjacent together. So epiglottis closes and monitors the flow of food into the esophagus. So thereby it helps in the passage. When we swallow, epiglottis opens up, fine, and it enters into esophagus. Tubular structure. What is it? Tubular, long, narrow, tubular structure, fine. That leads to the next part of the alimentary canal, what we call as stomach. We call it as stomach, fine. Stomach is a J-shaped chamber. What shape? J-shaped chamber, fine. Clear? Fine. Stomach, fine. It is a J-shaped chamber, like this, fine. Clear? This is what is the esophagus, continuous as esophagus, fine, where you have, fine, sphincter muscles. Here also there will be sphincter muscles to control the passage, flow off. the food particles. Fine. So they prevent the outflow, they prevent the backflow of the food. That's why swallowing is very easy, very simple. Whereas vomiting is very difficult because unnaturally the movements has to take place from the stomach and also through the esophagus. Fine. Clear. Sphincter muscles. Fine. Cardiac sphincter muscles. Why it is known as cardiac sphincter muscles? Why it is known as cardiac sphincter muscles? Because the stomach is divided into 4 parts. The stomach is divided into 4 parts. Cardiac, fine. This part is known as fundus. This part is known as fundus. Then this part is known as body. This is known as pylorus. This is known as pylorus. Cardiac, fundus, body, pylorus. These are the 4 parts of the stomach. 4 parts of the. Some book says fundus is the first part. Some book says cardiac is the first part. For example, listen here. If this is the stomach, fine. This is the stomach where left hand side, fine. Clear. Left hand side stomach. So heart will be like this, and the first part which is closed, which is the esophagus, passes like this and comes here. The first part of the stomach, what my left hand is showing is the first part of the stomach, whereas my right hand is showing this as a heart. So this will be very close to heart. Whereas here in between there is a, what is that? Diaphragm that divides the thoracic region and the abdominal region. So that layer, right? That is known as a diaphragm, characteristic of mammalia. We have told. So this part of the stomach will be very close to heart. That's why the first part of the stomach is known as cardiac. Whereas the gastritis symptom and heart attack symptom are almost same. We'll talk about that in disorders when we talk about that. Now what we are going to, so this is the parts of the stomach: cardiac, fundus, body and pylorus. Right? Here you come across pyloric sphincter muscles. Here you come across cardiac sphincter muscles. Cardiac sphincter muscles. What is the function of this? They close up. Fine. See here, they close like this. Fine. They close here. Fine. Like this, they close. This is the function of sphincter muscles is to open up. Fine. Open up, clear, and to close. Fine. Like this, they will be. Fine. You will understand about sphincter muscles when we talk about anus. Closing, opening action. Fine. So here I have tried my level best to make you understand how the sphincter muscles function. So this is the movement of the sphincter muscles. Fine. Sphincter muscles like this. Fine. So here they flow, they enter, they allow the passage. So they prevent the backflow. But in vomiting it occurs. Fine. Regurgitation. Fine. Clear. Reaction occurs. Okay. Cardiac sphincter muscles. Fine. Cardiac, fundus, body, pylorus. From pylorus, next small intestine starts. So before the small intestine, the last part of the stomach, where the small intestine starts, in that junction, we come across pyloric sphincter muscles. Pyloric sphincter muscles that control the passage part by part of the semi-digested food or partially digested food from the stomach enters into small intestine. Okay. So in the cardiac, fundus, body, pylorus, what takes place here? Fine. This has an inner lining. Here there are foldings. Those foldings are known as rugae. What they are known as? They are known as rugae. What they are known as? They are known as rugae. In the base of the rugae, we have gastric glands. What we have? Gastric glands. At the base of the rugae, we have gastric glands. Simultaneously, we will talk about gastric juice also. So in this, fine. So these foldings are there. Fine. These smooth muscles are there. We are told in 7th chapter also, structural organization in animals. Smooth muscles are found present in stomach and intestine. In stomach, they bring about peristaltic movement. What is the peristaltic movement? The movement by which the food, right, mixes completely properly with the gastric juice for the digestion. In the stomach, partial digestion takes place. What takes place? Partial digestion. Digestion completely takes place, completed in the small intestine. So here, partial digestion takes place, fine, along with the help of salivary amylase, then gastric juice, fine, clear. Gastric lipase, enzymes will be there, we'll talk about that. So here, in these foldings are known as rugae. At the base of the rugae, we have gastric glands. These gastric glands secretes 1 to 1.5 liter of gastric juice. This amount of gastric juice secreted in adult healthy person, normal adult healthy person, is directly proportional to the amount secreted by the directly proportional to the saliva produced by the salivary glands. How much of saliva is produced in a day in a normal adult healthy person? Same amount of, proportional to that amount of gastric gland secretes gastric juice in the stomach. Clear? So when we eat food, clear? Understand? We have The gastric glands, we'll talk about that. Whereas gastric juice, we'll talk later. So, when we eat food, we have to chew properly, we have to grind it properly, we have to masticate properly so that it is mixing with the saliva. While you are eating food, you should not get diverted. Movies or TV or mobile, your whole concentration should be on the food. Clear? So that you are properly chewing it, mechanical digestion is going on, saliva is produced, the saliva enters, stimulates the gastric glands to secrete gastric juice, And this also internally it is protected by mucous membrane. What membrane? It is protected by mucous membrane. Why mucous membrane? In order to prevent self-digestion. We can digest meat. Our stomach can digest meat. Our stomach itself again is a meat. It itself is a meat. So it has to avoid self-digestion. In order to avoid the self-digestion, this mucous membrane will be there, right? Outer layer, so that it protects the epithelial tissue, the soft tissue of the stomach from getting damaged from gastric juice, right? Because gastric juice is, we'll talk about gastric juice. Gastric juice is what is it? Right? Produced from, is it visible? Produced from gastric glands, right? It is highly acidic. pH is around 2-3. Highly acidic pH. Why it is acidic pH? So highly acidic because it has an acid known as, yes, what is it? Hydrochloric acid, HCl. What it has? HCl. It has HCl. Hence it is highly acidic. Clear? So this acidic nature. So remember, I told you saliva also slightly acidic. After slightly acidic, highly acidic. So the digestion is taking place in the acidic medium. Later, when it enters into the small intestine, digestion will be taking place in the alkaline medium or basic medium. In saliva, slightly acidic, mouth highly acidic because it has hydrochloric acid whose pH value is 2 to 3. pH value is 2 or 2 to 1, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 up to 3. So it means it's highly acidic. Clear? You might have heard in chemistry lab also, it's corrosive in nature. Fine. It burns your skin or clothes. Fine. You should not touch it directly. Clear? All those things you might have heard because sulfuric acid and HCl, hydrochloric acid, are very strong acids. And moreover, you might have seen they are stored in brown bottles. Skin color brown, stomach color brown, skin color brown, stored inside brown bottles. So the bottles which are stored acid, why? Because it is photosensitive. In order to prevent all those reactions, photosensitive, HCl and hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, HNO3, all they are in chemistry lab. They are stored in brown bottles. Okay, not going into those details about the HCl and the skin color and those things. HCl, in this gastric juice, it can damage our cells. If it damages, what happens? This acid kills the cells. The cells will damage, they die, and they form ulcers. What they form? Ulcers. Certain students they may get mouth ulcers, oral ulcers, or mouth ulcers. Whose body heat is more, or such people should be taking B complex tablets, or better to take tender coconut also, buttermilk also, tender coconut also, natural things to overcome this mouth ulcers. The students or the people who have mouth ulcers, they should be a little more careful that there are chances that gastric ulcers are happening in their body. After gastric ulcers, it may be again intestinal ulcers. If ulcer is not cured in time, gastric ulcers, if not treated, not cured, gastritis is not cured, gastritis plus gastric ulcers leads to cancer. Why? Because these cells are dying because of HCl. That's why this HCl will digest our own meat, it will kill our own epithelial tissue here, epithelial cells here, or the stomach cells here. So to prevent that, we have a protective membrane known as mucous membrane. That's why I told you, mucous membrane helps in the prevention of self-digestion. So this HCl can digest our cells. Fine. Now why HCl? Because the digestion has to take place, and in the beginning it will take place in the acidic medium that helps in the breakage of the food. And in the stomach there are muscular tissues here, smooth muscles are there which are involuntary. Fine. We have studied in 7th chapter. Clear? Involuntary muscles, they bring about peristaltic movement. What movements? Peristaltic. Cement mixing, you might have seen, cement mixer, the trucks. Fine. Where in the cement, the jelly, what we call fine pebbles, those stones, and sand, water is added. What for? To mix, and that will be moving inside. So like this, similar motion, similar movements, fine, will takes place in the stomach. So these movements are known as peristaltic movements that help in the complete mixing, proper mixing of the bolus or the food in the stomach along with the HCl, right? So that it leads to partial digestion. This gastric juice consists of gastric lipase, fine, clear, gastric lipase that digest the simple lipids, fine. Then it also has pepsin and renin. They are these enzymes, they are also enzymes, but they are not named as per the nomenclature of enzymes like ACE because they are special enzymes. They are highly active in acidic conditions. Hence, they are specialized enzymes. They are known as pepsin and renin. They work on simple proteins. Pepsin, renin also works on the protein of milk that is known as casein. So from casein, that is the protein of milk, fine, casein. Renin is produced large in case of small children, fine, in children. As the age of the individual increases, the amount of production of the renin decreases. When it reaches adulthood around 18 years of age, completely the production of renin stops. Why? Because at that age nobody will consume milk. Understand? So till that renin is produced. Later, even if you consume milk and milk products, the function of renin will be taken care by pepsin. One enzyme is what is enzyme? Pepsin. Don't get confused. Pepsin. Other is known as renin. R-A-N-N-I-N. Renin. If you say double N, it is enzyme. Again, it will come. We'll talk about renin hormone also. Fine. Pepsin and renin, they digest simple proteins. What proteins? Simple proteins. Fine. Albumin, egg protein. Casein, milk protein, fine, suberin, lecithin, plant proteins, seed proteins, fine, which are found present in vegetable seeds, fine, lecithin, suberin, actin, fine. Simple proteins are taken care here. So partial digestion takes place. Whatever the digestion that takes place after the partial digestion, that form of the food is known as chyme. What it is known as? Chyme. In mouth, I told you bolus. In stomach, it is known as chyme. C-H-Y-M-E. Chyme. So after that it leads to small intestine. Clear. In small intestine, we'll talk about the parts now. Parts, small intestine. Small intestine is very long. It is not small. It is around 21 feet. 21 feet in length. Though it is so big, 21 feet. Clear. So long. Big hall like. When you stretch your small intestine from here to that end, 21 feet in length. Why it is known as small intestine? Though it is big. Fine, clear. The lumen of the intestine is comparatively narrow. When we talk about large intestine, big and large intestine or colon, where the lumen is broader, whereas here the lumen is narrow. That's why, hence it is known as small intestine. But small intestine is not small in length. How much it measures? 21 feet. 21 feet, clear. It is curved in nature. How it is done? Curved, tightly packed in our abdominal region. Right? It is further divided into three parts. Duodenum. What is it known as? Duodenum. Ileum. Then duodenum, ileum, jejunum, ileum. Duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Ileum is the name of a bone also. We'll talk about that in pelvic girdle. In locomotion body movement chapter, we'll talk about that. Ileum bone, ischium, ileum pubis, that forms the pelvic girdle, because that intestine will be close to that region. That's why it's also known as ileum. We'll talk about that. So duodenum is around 1 feet. 1 feet, slightly more than 1 feet in length. Jejunum is around 8 feet in length. 8 feet. Clear? And ileum, the last part, is around 12 feet in length. 12 feet. Altogether, total up, it will come up to 21 feet. It will come up to 21 feet. So, it is further divided into duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Now, what happens in duodenum? Right, the first part of the intestine, which is very close to our stomach. So, it happens like this. It goes like this. Okay? I hope it's clear. Fine. So this part where the small intestine starts and the stomach ends, that junction, we have pyloric sphincter muscles. The function of these pyloric sphincter muscles is to pass the food particles or whatever, the chyme, the partially digested food, part by part. How? Part by part. How we eat? Complete one chapati together? No. Right? All rice together? Part by part. Okay? How we drink? Sip by sip. right? So that similar fashion, part by part, the partially digested food from stomach in the form of chyme enters into small intestine with through pyloric sphincter muscles. These pyloric sphincter muscles allow the passage, they open and close up. So then it enters. The first part of the small intestine is known as duodenum. What is known as duodenum? It will be around 1 feet in length. Duodenum, air in the duodenum from the liver and pancreas. Also, liver secretes bile juice, bile. Pancreas secretes pancreatic juice. Clear? Pancreatic juice. Both these juices comes into the duodenum through sphincter of Oddi. Sphincter of Oddii. Name of a physiologist. Sphincter of Oddi, where they come and join here. Bile juice is produced from the liver. Of course, true, correct. But it is temporarily stored in gallbladder because liver is a multifunctional organ. Whatever it secretes, it helps in digestion also, excretion also, circulation also, almost many physiological functions. Since it's a multifunctional organ, it cannot store its own digestive juice, which is known as bile juice. We'll talk about that. Bile juice is very important point about bile. Though it's a digestive juice, it don't have any enzymes. See the magic. We'll talk about that. I will tell you how this magic will be logical. Now, small intestine, sphincter of Oddi. After that, sphincter of Oddi. Sphincter of pyloric sphincter muscles will be here. Then at this junction, sphincter of Oddi also comes through which hepatopancreatic duct. Common hepato refers to liver, pancreatic refers to pancreas. From this, the common duct, bile juice and pancreatic juice enters into small intestine duodenum part, where most of the digestion takes place. Most of the digestion takes place in the duodenum and the first part of the jejunum. Last part of the jejunum and ileum, where digestion is completed and absorption will also be completed. What is absorption? Absorption of digested food. Absorption of the digested food will be completed. In this duodenum and jejunum and ileum, you come across villi in the form of microvilli or villi, which are nothing but this intestine is lined with columnar epithelial tissue. And this villi and microvilli, they increase the surface area. Thereby, thus the absorption will also be increased. Absorption of what? Absorption of the digested food will be increased. Clear? And in the intestine, smooth muscles are present. They are responsible for segmentation movement. What movement? Segmentation movement. What do you mean by segment? Part by part. Because as I told you, small intestine is 21 feet long. All of a sudden, completely at once, the whole small intestine cannot move. Fine. So it moves part by part. This part, like this. Part by part. This part is moved, then this part. Then later the other part. So that's why it is a segmentation movement. Fine. So that is who is responsible for that? Smooth muscles that are found present in the small intestine. So digestion will completed, absorption will take place. That we'll talk in the physiology part. Now we are talking about the structures. So small intestine leads to large intestine. Large intestine is further divided into 3 parts. One is known as ascending colon, transverse colon and descending colon. We will try to complete these organs now elementary enough so that we can start the digestion, physiology of digestion in the next class. Large intestine, fine, is around 6 to 8 feet. It is divided like this, it will be, fine, clear? Just a rough diagram for your understanding. This is known as colon also. Colon also refers to large intestine. Ascending colon because it goes up. Transverse colon because it will be in between, ascending. So it is coming down, what we call descending colon. Ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon. So it will be like surrounding this, fine. This whole is small intestine system. At the junction where small intestine ends and large intestine starts, the junction where small intestine ends, the last part of the small intestine, ileum, last part of the ileum and the first part of the large intestine. So at that junction, we come across an organ known as vermiform appendix. What is known as vermiform appendix? What is the function here? Vermiform appendix acts as a secondary lymphatic organ in children before puberty or adulthood. It helps in the immunity. We will talk about that in second year 8th chapter. Secondary lymphatic organ, vermiform appendix in children. Whereas in other animals, in the herbivorous, it produces an enzyme known as cellulase that help in the digestion of cellulose. Vermiform appendix is present in herbivores, totally absent in carnivores, present in human beings. It is a part of digestive system, but it don't have any role in the digestion. Hence, it is considered as vestigial organ because it don't contribute in the digestion of the cellulose. That's why I told you, by nature, by creation, human beings are omnivorous. Though this organ is present, this organ is performing a different function of producing lymphocytes. In the other, we'll talk about that in immunology 8th chapter next year. So in here it is not producing any enzyme, not contributing anything in the digestion, hence it is considered as vestigial organ. You study in 7th chapter 2nd year evolution that human body is a museum of vestigial organs, because we have many vestigial organs as per science. But fine, vermiform appendix is not a vestigial organ, but in digestion it don't have any, it is a part of the digestive system but don't contribute in the digestion, hence we consider it as a vestigial organ. When you talk about disorders, we'll talk about appendicitis. Some students may get doubt now here itself, appendicitis, fine, or it is surgically removed, we'll talk about that. So at the junction where small intestine ends and large intestine starts, that junction, small finger like projection is there, that is known as vermiform appendix. Now large intestine ascending colon, where completely digested after absorbed, after our digestion is over, absorption is over, what is left out is undigested waste. That undigested waste here, it goes up, then it passes through the transverse colon, then descending colon comes by over here, then it comes to rectum, Right, remember in the large intestine, in the colon, no digestion takes place, no absorption takes place. In certain cases, if excess amount of electrolytes, salts, or more amount of water is found present in undigested waste, that parts, which one? Salts, electrolytes, fine, and the water will be reabsorbed here. If excess amount is present, otherwise no absorption takes place, no digestion takes place in the large intestine. It acts as a passage, smooth passage. So ascending colon, most transverse colon, then descending colon, it comes to rectum, fine. After rectum is a small chamber-like organ where the undigested waste is stored temporarily. Then rectum leads to last organ of the alimentary canal known as anus, fine. Anus, through which, thus anus is controlled by anal sphincter muscle. Now you might be understanding how opening and closing takes place. Whenever defecation takes place, the process of removal of undigested waste through anus is what is known as defecation. It comes part by part. So it is controlled by sphincter muscles. I hope you have understood now. Clear? What is the function of sphincter muscles? So anus, it comes out, the undigested waste comes out of the anus. So this completes the alimentary canal. Next class, we'll talk about the digestive glands and the physiology of digestion. Keep studying. God bless you. Good luck. Take care.